Don't be angry. Do not be angry. I'm just being honest. Do not be angry, because there's the logic of either they want to know how they compete in the market without doing a full-fledged salary.
Do you ever hire people from LinkedIn? We are trying to pay people to our LinkedIn profiles, and we want to know, should we invest?
The short answer is yes.
Yeah. So what I'd encourage, especially us in Africa, to do, sign up and start doing reviews.
Yes, for our own companies.
So for our own companies, because when you go on Glassdoor, a lot of the information, first of all, is in US.
Guys in that department. Now, before you are very excellent and come to head that department, remember there are guys you're coming to lead. What am I communicating to them? If I take you out of class and you come and head these guys.
Hi, good people. My name is Karen Olege. I am a career strategist and coach. Welcome back to Career Talks with Karen. I am devoted, and my purpose is to ensure that every working professional, and indeed everyone, is making the most out of their careers, and they're getting a fulfillment and satisfaction from their job. If that's what you're looking for, then you're in the right place. Welcome to Career Talks with Karen. Like this content, share, subscribe, even press the notification bell so that you do not miss out on any of the future episodes. Let's get started. Career Talks with Karen. So ladies and gentlemen, I have two amazing recruiters with me, two people who are always at the back end receiving your CVs and shortlisting or not shortlisting you. I will ask them to introduce themselves, and then we can get into your questions. Ladies first, as always.
Thank you, Karen. I'm Gathoni Mwangi. I have been in the talent space for a decade now. I might not look like it, but it's been a decade, or maybe I look like it. But
you don't.
Thank you. But my passion is recruitment. I have spent time doing HR transformation projects, change management, but most of my career has actually been in talent acquisition. It's my passion, it's what I do, I love it. I've worked in West Africa for 2 years, came back to East Africa. Home is best, this is where I work, this is where I'm gonna stay, God willing. And yeah, I've worked across management consulting, logistics, and more recently investment advisory and agri-tech insurance. So that's my background.
Karibu sana Gathoni to our set. And Joseph?
Yes, thanks Karen, and as always excited whenever we connect. So on this one we are on your channel.
Yes, Career Talks with Karen.
Follow, like and subscribe. So my name is Joseph Ndegwa. I've been with talent acquisition for about 6 years now. My career cuts across consulting, manufacturing, and now I'm in the NGO sector. Looking forward to your questions. I mean, we tried to give justice to the first part of your questions, but keep them coming. Keep sending your questions to Karen. One way or the other, we'll find a way to respond. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Let's connect on the socials. So welcome, and looking forward to part 2.
And part 2 is the parts. I saved the hardest questions, the toughest questions for part 2. I sort of just wanted us to deal with the easiest stuff first, and then we can come to the more tough things. And the more tough things is salaries, pay. So most of us just don't know what our expected salary is. Every time we are filling in those forms and we are being asked what is your expected salary, we don't know what to put in. We don't want to be too high so that we miss the job, and I wonder whether sometimes we are too high and you disqualify us on that account, and other times we don't want to be too low, and then you give us that low pay when we would have aimed for higher. So as a recruiter, when you're asking me that question, or when you're asking me to fill that information in those web-based forms, what would you advise for us to put in, Gathoni?
I wanted Joseph to start.
Ladies first.
Hard one. I'll put on both hats, practicality and controversial. Practically speaking, sometimes candidates are booted because the salary range is just too high. It's too high for what has been budgeted for. Most organizations have salary bands that they work with. So when you get a candidate who is asking for 4x, 5x, sometimes 6x of the highest peak of the salary band for that role, then it's almost a pointless conversation. However, when I wear my controversial hat, I typically prefer to read through a profile and see, is this person qualified for the job, right? Do they have the number of years of experience, all the qualifications we've asked for, but there seems to be a huge gap with the salary that they're requesting for. I like to have a conversation. If it's not a conversation, it's an email, and I say, hey, your range is actually way out of our budget. This is what we are looking to offer potentially. Are you willing to continue into the interview process? And I remember my last experience with this was I was recruiting for Malawi, and we had so many people just out of the salary range, but their profiles were so good. So we did ask those questions, and we ended up hiring somebody who was outside. The expected was totally outside what you are ready to offer, but they took the job and they're still with the company. So it can work both ways, but I think key point of advice is do your research. Do your research. Find somebody who understands either salary ranges, bands, etc. in that company, so that you know when you're putting down that number, it's reasonable. It's not totally out of work. But the research part can also be hard, because I don't know if it's just African culture or what, people want to hide their salaries. And nobody wants to say what they are making. Even if it's $1 million, they are zip. Whether it's 50 bob, zip.
You'll start planning for my money.
Exactly. So we also need to get into the habit of being able to openly share, this is what I'm on, or this is what you should ask for, this is what is going to be fair. Get advice, do your research, because not everyone will send that email saying your profile is great, but you're out of range.
What usually is your take when you see those numbers that we put in, and sometimes they're just out of range or way beneath what you would like to offer?
So first of all, allow me to just agree with everything Gathania said. So let me go again into the logic bit of why some organizations probably don't put salaries, or most. So she started by saying part of the culture, I think, in Africa, or how things have been done for a long time is, I don't know what you'll think when you know our salary ranges. I don't know, there's all that, right? There's the bit on if my salary is too attractive, I'll attract everyone. So for one role, I'll get 3,000 applications. I need to fill this role in 2 weeks. Unless we commit the entire organization to this process, we'll hardly go through 3,000 applications and come out of it within the timelines we have, right? So some of them do it that way. All right. There's some that will probably think, we want to see the market actually, literally, because she did talk of salary ranges. Now, for you to get salary ranges within your industry, you maybe pay a consultant to do a salary survey. Now, one of the ways you can avoid doing a salary survey is actually collecting salary information from your applications. So if I'm hiring branch managers, again within the financial services sector, let's say a bank, I'll probably get 50% will be branch managers in other banks. So I'll be able to see, okay, how does our pay compare to what is being offered in the market, to just tell us, are we competitive, are we not, where are we, if we don't want to commission a full range salary survey. So for that reason, I always say, go for it. Put in the number, but she did talk of research.
Do your research.
Yes, the truth is, most of the time, and the higher you go, you'll know someone somewhere. That's just the practical approach. You'll probably know a friend whose auntie's uncle, grandmother is somewhere. Now that's on your beat. For more international organizations, there's Glassdoor, which gives these ranges, because if I want to review an organization, then I have to disclose my role and my salary.
Yes.
So therefore, they give actually a very accurate pay range for these international organizations. Maybe you'll not find information about a company that is in Kenya, maybe that has been 2 years, because even probably the owners don't know Glassdoor. So there's that bit on practicality. But for big established organizations, you'll most likely find them on Glassdoor. Then use your networks. Now, this is the part of where networks come in play.
Use your networks.
I always advise guys, maybe this is a bit, I'm digressing, but I always advise, you don't need to know many recruiters. You need to know people in your field. Because the people in your field, if for example, you're in HR, you're in a network of HR, maybe even in a WhatsApp group, even if you just post there, hey, I'm interviewing with these guys, who can respond to this kind of question, they'll probably, side chat or side by you. So, leverage on your networks to get this kind of information. When it's not posted, don't be angry. Do not be angry. I'm just being honest. Do not be angry, because there's the logic of either they want to know how they compete in the market without doing a full-fledged salary survey, right? And then I always say it's also important for you to know your value. Because the salary question is always more on the value you will bring, is what is being compensated, right? So I'm sure, Gadon, you've turned down roles, even you, Karen, that you feel, oh, but I actually interviewed and I got that job. But I turned it down because of the salary. For me, why I say that is good is because interviewing is also, you get better with practice. There's honestly a muscle of confidence that you build when you actually go through the entire process and you feel you are expensive. Of course, you can. It's not a good thing for me as a recruiter, because you've wasted my time. But there's a confidence you get. So every assumption you've probably had about how you'd respond to an interview, you've gone through the process, and it's just because you feel, with my value and what they're offering, I can't compete. I'm always very wary of guys who think they were not shortlisted because of the salary. I'll tell you why. Gadoni did say, most of the time, if your profile resonates with what we are looking for, I'll actually give you a call. Remember, I'm your ambassador. So I'll give you a call or an email, like she said, and say, hey, we saw, I think you're outstanding, nini, but our budget iko hivi, right? So for that reason, would you want to proceed, or do you want to sit this one out? So you will sit this one out. But then again, even in the part one, we did talk about examples of guys who want to be CFO, head of HR, but you're straight from university. And then you've told me you want $1 million. Because HR or head of departments are paid $1 million. Now, it is not the salary information that will make you not to be shortlisted. It's actually your profile. Your profile. Because if you are responsive to the requirements, the recruiter will most likely reach out and even tell you, hey, and Gadoni can confirm again, when you sit on this other side, you'll get 600 applications maybe for any role. But Gadoni knows it's probably less than 100 that are within responsive confines. 500 are guys who are trying.
Reaching.
And it's not bad, but that's why we are saying the practical approach. When you're starting out your career, in fact, the best advice I give guys is just go for an intern. Because there you'll be able to prove yourself and a role will maybe open up. Or if you see an entry position, which are not so many, but people do still start their careers in one or the other. So how do they do it? And most parts you'll see that, unless there's a graduate program or there's a fresh intake of new guys, look for those drives, because you'll not be out of school. They do happen, and then I give you a manager position. You're coming to head guys in that department. Now, before you are very excellent and come to head that department, remember there are guys you're coming to lead. What am I communicating to them? If I take you out of class and you come and head these guys, this is what they've been doing. So even internal motivation, morale is lacking. Because you brought me a student to lead me. They have no experience. Then you start hearing these conversations of, we train our boss on everything here. That leads to demotivation. So I know I've digressed a bit, but the bit on salary, do your research. And that question of saying I was not shortlisted because I overquoted, And then again, as a HR, she can confirm,
Yeah.
if you fit the bill and you're probably lower than our lower grade in that position, it's actually exciting because I know I'll change your life.
Yeah,
I'll
and
bump
you're happy
you
to do that.
exactly. I'll bump you from your expectations. So if you wanted 60 and the salary for this position starts at 100, I'm actually like, wow, I want to talk to this person because there's a possibility of even going further than they want. Yeah.
And it's actually our mandate. I know a lot of people think, oh yes, you have salary bands, but if I tell you I'm at 60 and the band starts at 100,
You'll be happy to save your money.
cutting, then you go and say,
70.
HR, we have saved this much money. No, it's our mandate.
Yeah.
We have
To stay
agreed on
within.
that range. We must offer that range. Even if you're coming from a salary of 5,000
Yeah.
and you've qualified for the job,
Yeah.
it is our mandate to give you the starting
Within the
salary
range.
for that grade. Something else you mentioned, which I loved, is Glassdoor.
Yeah.
But with Glassdoor, what I'd encourage, especially us in Africa, to do, sign up and start doing reviews.
Yes,
Yeah.
for our own companies.
So for our own companies, because when you go on Glassdoor, a lot of the information, first of all, is in USD, right? But it's also from very big organizations.
Big organization, global
where there's
organization.
almost even a program trying to get people to give reviews on Glassdoor,
Yes,
the company,
yes,
the salary.
yes.
But you know, our mom and pop shops, our smaller self-run businesses, let's also do it so that we can start gathering that
data.
information.
Data,
We don't have that data because if I'm quoting a salary that I saw from the US, New York, which is a very expensive city,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, but this is the salary I saw. I mean, the two are not connected.
Context is different.
So it's on us as candidates, as employees generally, do a review
Yeah.
so that we can start building up this information.
And have it up to date so that someone else can use the information and you also will be looking for that information. There's one thing that you mentioned that I think we need to talk about in another episode, and that's networking. Do you know there are actually people who don't have anyone to ask?
Now that's
Something,
where
and that's your problem, guys. That's your problem. So we really need to talk about networking in the professional space, and we'll be doing that in a future episode. There's some interesting questions that came forth. One of them: would you hire me if I am about 7 months pregnant, but I'm competent for this role?
You're looking at me because I'm a woman.
would you?
Would I?
Yeah, someone is pregnant and
That
they're
is a tough
competent.
question. Now, practically speaking, labor law, we have to employ you. If you're qualified for the job, we have to employ you. That's just how simple it is. Now, sometimes I've seen, or we were even speaking with you, interview processes that take 6 months, right? You didn't just wake up and land at 7 months pregnant. You are going through the journey, hoping it's going to end. Now you've gotten the offer and you're at 7 months pregnant. Ideally, the company should give you that offer. They should give you that job. You take it, you go on your mat leave. If you're lucky working for a Scandinavian country,
You take your
the
year.
company will see you after a year post your last interview. But on the other hand, it puts the company in a very strenuous position because the truth is, yes, we've hired you, you're the best for the job, but you'll come, you'll do your onboarding orientation, and then you'll have to go for 3 to 6 months. What are we going to do in that 3 to 6 months? Now, if your organization is well organized, well planned out, there's something called succession planning, where you have something called emergency successor and you have immediate successor. Now that you have this person off on mat leave, ideally it should be the immediate or emergency successor holding that position, right? You don't need to go and start hiring temps and God knows what, because once the temp comes, there's now competition between
them and
I want your job. I've come for the job for the first time. So ideally, these are the things that should happen. Unfortunately, this is not what's happening. That's the reality. I won't quote any companies, I won't quote any people, but there are people who are missing opportunities because of pregnancy, disability, things which don't even affect their job. You might not even need your feet, but yet you've not been given the job. So it happens, but it is against the labor law. And if you do feel you have been discriminated against, please go to a labor office. Go to the labor office, tell them about it, go to court if you need to, but the decision is yours. It's yours at the end of the day. It's also your decision. I know one lady who was pregnant, and she decided to extend her start date to once she had come from maternity leave, etc., etc. So sometimes it's good to have a conversation and say, look, I'd love to start now, but this is the situation we're in. Why don't I just come once I've already had the baby, right? So there are some options. There's the law, and there's what happens on ground.
At least paternity leave we can deal with that too. But have you had those incidences, and what would you do?
I mean, I think Gadoni summarized it the best way by saying, let's have a conversation. So I feel we did say in part one, we are your ambassadors and also ambassadors of the organization. So you'll probably tell me this is your situation. I'll also tell you this is the situation internally, right? And through that, we'll try and find out something that works for both of us. She also did mention that if you feel in one or the other that you are disadvantaged because you are expectant or one or the other reason, definitely talk to a labor officer and then exploit maybe through a court of law. But yeah, so I think it's really, let's have a conversation, but I've never been in a process where it's a discriminatory issue or process. And
what do you feel, what would you feel about these people who, some candidates, I don't know, we need to really be honest, because there's candidates who will not tell you they're pregnant until you have they've signed the offense.
In this Zoom time, where either you put off your video or your camera is just here.
So you may never know, and it's after offer. How is that?
Honestly, it's again leaves you flat-footed as a recruiter. As in, you were not expecting it. And that's why I'm saying, I think honesty with your recruiter. So it's a bit on me as a recruiter to make sure through our interactions you're feeling I'm your ambassador, you know, so that you're comfortable in telling me some of these things, because how did we get there? We probably got there because most maybe expectant ladies in the past would rightfully be denied opportunity, wrongfully be denied opportunities because they're expectant. But now we are morphing in a way, we are transitioning. I really encourage both the recruiting side and also the candidate side. Let's have these conversations as early as possible. Yes, because again, the optics of that is you'll be joining a certain team, right? You'll be going to report to someone. People are expecting you. You don't know the context. The context is probably we've been needing this person the last 1 year. So things are under pressure and all that. Now you're coming, you've started, and then again you go on maternity for maybe again 3 to 6 months, depending on the policy. I don't know how guys will feel about that entire, it's like you almost set them up in a way. Because now you're saying, okay, I've joined, but I'm not starting.
But something else I would say, there's a huge onus on the to have had
these conversations.
And it's not even a matter of conversation, but that's why I say I'm controversial. Me, when I'm talking to you, giving interviews after, I'm helping your cousins CV get revamped. You know, we almost form such a safe space relationship that I know you've applied for an MBA. I know you're in a final round interview at Safaricom.
Your wedding is coming.
I know your wedding. You've even invited me for the wedding. That's how it should be. If you are a good, I'm not saying that, you know, if you're not a good recruiter, you don't know these things. But if you're really good and you care about your job and you have passion, you will know your candidates' lives. That's just the truth of the matter. Especially if it's not an entry-level job, you will know your candidates' lives. And if you don't, you have to figure out a way how to do that. We have budgets, I don't know, it depends on the company also for what we call candidate cultivation.
Yes.
Meaning, outside of the interview, hi, how are you doing? I'm in your area, let's have coffee, let's go for lunch, come for this event at the office, come for, I remember when I was working at McKinsey, come for Mtani Art Exhibition, just mix and mingle, buy some art if you want to, and you get to know the person. You have to get to know the person. So if a recruiter is being caught flat-footed, I think there's something that has gone away in that candidate care and candidate cultivation process, to be honest.
And I would encourage hire someone, and this was actually pre-COVID. So this is someone who walks into the interview and you can clearly see that they are pregnant. Also in my former employment, we did, if really the candidate is good, just disclose that information. Also, don't be afraid to do that. And if the organization is not going to give you, also it's for your benefit. Sometimes it's a high pressure environment. They want you to travel too much. They want to send you to West Africa. You're here, you're just about to get the baby. So even you, how are you going to survive in such an environment should you get the job? So it also helps you to disclose and say this is the situation. And the recruiter knows where they're taking you. If really it's an environment that will not work for you, then they're saving you the trouble and they're saving you future emotional problem.
Exactly.
This is going to be our second last question. So, do you ever hire people from LinkedIn? We are trying to pay people to develop our LinkedIn profiles, and we want to know, should we invest?
Please do.
The short answer is yes. Yes, because I mean there are so many layers to this. One, I like to describe LinkedIn as a talent marketplace. So if you want to go and buy vegetables, where do you go?
To the soko.
To the soko, right?
Yes.
So if I actually want talent, where do I start? I go to the talent marketplace, exactly, talent soko. So it is in your best interest to actually have a fully updated profile. Okay? Just sitting somewhere. And once you do it once, you probably just need to tweak it here and there, depending on the experiences you're building along the way, right? As you go. So you don't need to keep on redoing and redoing. And the beauty also about LinkedIn is you can actually download your profile as a CV, and use it to make applications, depending on how updated you've made your profile. And I know so many people who do that. And the logic behind this is this. If we have recruiters who source on LinkedIn, I'm sure the audience, including us here as a panel, we've been reached out via LinkedIn, and it's purely because of the profile that is our profiles on LinkedIn, right? So if we actually do have those testimonials, then I mean
it makes your work.
It's your reference.
Yes, you go for it. Make sure you have an updated profile. Make sure you are updating it every so often, depending on because it's now live. I find that people even find it easier to update LinkedIn than changing your Word document on your CV, right? So yes, that's why I say the short answer is yes, we do. And Gadoni, you can add to it.
Yeah, you have to have a LinkedIn. I was telling the panel earlier, I even found a driver on LinkedIn, and his profile was fully updated. And in my heart, I was just wishing I had a driver position, just so I could interview this guy and ask him, how on earth, why were you even thinking of getting on LinkedIn as a driver? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. LinkedIn, don't wait till you're working. Start when you're a student. Some of the best graduate hires have been headhunted via LinkedIn.
I'm happy to hear graduates.
Yes. The old school way of being friends with the career office, it's still there. Then you ask for the dean's list, or you ask a few students who is performing, who you tutor with, etc. That is a very long and tedious process. We are moving away from that. As a student, you must have a LinkedIn. Must have. Especially if you're in third year and above. First year, second year, we can say it's okay. Right? You're still figuring things out, settling, joining student clubs. But by third year, if you don't have a LinkedIn, there's a problem. Right? So we headhunt from LinkedIn. It's our main source. It's really our main source outside of networks. There's so many ways to be creative on your LinkedIn that you're not allowed to be as creative on your CV. Including voice recognition. How do you pronounce, people
your name.
In Europe call me, even West Africa, Gatoni. But on my LinkedIn, I can actually introduce
Yeah.
myself and say, my name is Gathoni.
Yes.
Right? There's so much you can do with LinkedIn. And then outside of the profile, show us your personality. Post. Don't just sit there with a profile.
Yeah.
It's like having a dating profile on Bumble or God knows what. Then you just sit there. You have to
No
be
engagement.
Yeah, you have to be engaging with people. You have to be commenting on things, liking things. Because the more you do that, there's an algorithm that helps people pop up as possible connections for you to have, right?
Yeah.
And it's the ones who are regularly posting. They have activities going on, so they are taking courses. LinkedIn has so many amazing courses,
Free. Yeah.
by fantastic professionals.
Yeah.
So if you're not on LinkedIn, we don't know how to help you.
Get onto LinkedIn and optimize it.
Yeah.
I know people who have said I haven't gotten a job from LinkedIn, and that's fine. But you're still on the journey. So how about, and I think even part of the things that we talked about in part one, like your achievements, the things that your accomplishments at work, why don't you put that as part of your LinkedIn?
Your post.
And there are people who are posting even certificates of things that they are going through, and you're able to see this is somebody who is after their own professional development, and I want this kind of enthusiasm and passion from someone who I'm bringing onto my team. So again, don't just get there, guys, and sit. In this, especially in this information age, and in a time when there's just so much that you can do online, go and get trained, attend even virtual conferences. You sit here and you're in a conference of HR professionals in the US. Sometimes even the fee to pay is so small, $12, and you're in a very big event, and post about that on LinkedIn so that other people can see. Generally, is it easy or hard to fill in these vacancies that you're advertising for?
Which ones?
All.
It really depends.
The layers.
There are so many layers, to be honest, and it really depends also on the organization. I keep mentioning McKinsey because that is where he was stretched to capacity to look for the best talent. Forget in Kenya, in Africa, in the world. And you are competing with companies like JP Morgan, Oliver Wyman, to bring someone to McKinsey in Kenya. It was tough. It was tough. So it really depends on the role, on the company, the expectations. Some roles are much easier to fill because they're hot to go, and people are, especially tech ones, people are usually looking, and they're all over. They're very loud and exposed. They're on this gig website. You can just find them all over the place. So it really depends on the role, but it also depends on your network. As Joseph said, because some roles are hard to fill. But if you call a couple of people, they might know one or two unicorns, and you won't waste 3 months looking for those unicorns. It will just be 3 days, and you have access to them. Now, whether they take the job or not, that's
another conversation. No, I totally agree, because for me, I value professional networks so much. Because, and I like to use our own examples. If Gathoni is, okay, maybe our examples as recruiters is not the best, because we are recruiters, but for you, I think, within your network of HR or L&D experts, I'm sure the first job that pops up in any organization in L&D, it will pop up in either a WhatsApp group you're in, or you will see someone on LinkedIn sharing because you're in the same network. Now, Gathoni will not be sharing L&D opportunities every other day. She'll share because that's her job, but not necessarily as she would. And also in terms of understanding, it's easier for you to connect with another L&D for context setting in terms of how is that role really. Because remember, she is the organization's ambassador and your ambassador. So the way she'll sell it is not necessarily how you will sell it. You'll be a bit more like, you'll go into the technicals of L&D, this is what they have, this is what they are looking at, and all that. So I think that professional network, I cannot overemphasize it. And your LinkedIn profile. Those two. You are doing yourself a lot of disservice if you're not working on those two fronts.
Ladies and gentlemen in my audience, there is so much to learn about jobs really and job seeking. But one thing that I'm really taking away from this conversation is you have a lot of work to do. You need to sit down and just work on your visibility.
Yep.
Yes.
Be in the places that you need to be at, because right now this is a very networked world, and we are moving to virtual spaces. So if you don't belong even to one WhatsApp group that has something to do with your job, guys, where are you? Where are you expecting to find the job? And have you ever seen that person who it's so easy for them to get jobs, and you're asking yourself, how come? It's because this person is in the right places. And in LinkedIn, you can easily find them by who they are. You can search them by who they are. You can see their activity and all that. I am going to be doing another episode on networking, because I find it to be quite a topic. How do you network? You don't just sit there and do your work. You find like-minded people, other professionals, and you figure out how you can leverage from those relationships, and at the same time figure out your visibility in the virtual space, LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn, and in some of these other professional sites. So that brings us to the end of our content today. You are free to ask more questions in the comment section. Please do ask. We will be answering them. We will attempt to answer as much as we can in the comments. Also leave your comments. Tell us about your experiences in the workplace, in your process of seeking for a job, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Please subscribe, like the content, share it so that other people can also see it. Hit the notification bell, watch part 1 if you haven't watched part 1, and see you in the next episode.